Sheriff Judd, California, New York, squatter law. Somebody comes in, stays in a place. This is your rental. You're out of town. Now they're in the house. Even though this is your $2 million property, the law protects the squatter where the owner can't come and kick the people out and you're going to go to jail, right? One, what's your position with these weird squatter laws that they have in these different states? And two, how do you address it?
Sure. First and foremost, you know, Florida just changed their squatter laws, okay? There was also a civil procedure in Florida to get squatters off of your property. And many police agencies across the state were saying, hey, it's a civil problem, much like you saw in California and New York. But that's why our Florida legislature acted and gave a specific tool so you could move people out immediately. We never had that problem in Polk County because we would read the trespassing law, the burglary law, the vandalism law. And when we interact with a homeowner who said, I'm not in a business agreement with that guy, I didn't lease my house to that guy, I have never seen that guy, I didn't sign any of those documents. When he tells us that, and he will sign a sworn affidavit under oath, we lock that guy up that's broken into his house that was up for sale. And we lock him up immediately. Now, if the squatter is good, which most of them aren't, and they've dummied up paper and filed it with the clerk, it may take us a day or two to get all the paperwork together in order to arrest them. But 99 out of 100 of them, we would take them to jail in handcuffs that afternoon when we were called to the house immediately, because it doesn't give you the authority to move into someone's house, to break into someone's house, to change that house into your name, to move the electricity into your name. It doesn't give you the right. So we never had this problem that we have seen manifest in New York and California because we use criminal laws to get rid of those people immediately. But we're back to where we were in this last piece that we talked about on the shooting of Trump. It's incompetence, it's laziness, it's lawyers telling police chiefs don't get involved, make them go to the civil courts. Well, wait a minute, what about all these criminal laws here? So we've never had that. We didn't even have that problem before the Florida legislature changed.
We as in Florida.
We as in Florida. We as in Polk County. Some other places in Florida absolutely told them to go seek out the civil process. That's why Governor DeSantis, who's the greatest governor, that's why
we're here because of him. He did a phenomenal job, yeah.
And the Florida legislature changed that to give law enforcement more teeth.
So, okay, so as a sheriff, how many other sheriffs around the country are you in communication with as peers, like you talk to them?
Sure.
Is that pretty common?
Yes, and I am the past president of the Major County Sheriffs of America.
I saw that.
So I communicate not as much now since I'm the past president, but I have communicated with sheriffs all over this nation.
On the opposing side of sheriffs who are dealing in a county where squatters have the protection more than the way we have in Florida, are these sheriffs that agree with the law, or are they saying, hey, man, this shit is out of control, this is ridiculous? And those who are agreeing with the law, because politically you're going to have sheriffs on the left, the right, the center, even Fort Lauderdale, the sheriff here. I had lunch with him the other day. The chief of police here had lunch with him the other day at the house. Very interesting man to get to know him. What's the argument for people that think protecting squatters is a good law?
Here's what I've found in government. Police administrators that don't know how to be police administrators or are fearful of their job, they run to the lawyers. And the lawyer's basic concept is this: you can't get in trouble if you do nothing. So they hide behind the lawyers. Or the police chiefs work for a strong mayor or work for a city government, and the police chiefs are told, because they're not independent like sheriffs are, I'll talk about that in a second, they're told, hey, the city lawyer says don't stick your neck out. We could get sued. So don't do it. Send them to civil court. Well, it's not sticking your neck out. It's enforcing the law. But people don't understand the difference in a police chief and a sheriff, an elected sheriff. A police chief is appointed by either a strong mayor or a city manager and reports to a mayor or a commission. So the city police chief is an employee of the government to enforce the rules. And he works for a hierarchy. And that's the same thing at the state level and the same thing at the national level.
I'm tracking.
The elected sheriff is appointed by the public to look out for the public's best interests. So the way I enforce the law is a whole lot different, because my first responsibility is not to the government, it's to the people. And when I have a statute that says they've broken in, they've changed the locks, I've got an owner that says, I own the property, I've never laid eyes on these folks, I've never been in a business relationship with them, I've never signed a contract, I've never had a verbal contract, guess who I'm going to go with? As soon as he signs under oath that, I'm locking those squatters up. That's the difference in the sheriff and a police chief that has to listen to a city manager who's the boss or a mayor who's the boss. And they listen to lawyers who say, oh, if you do something, we might get sued. So don't do anything. So the community suffers.
It's so interesting you say that. Nothing's different in business, by the way. When you run a small business, maybe you can't afford to hire an HR person. When we were smaller, you hire ADP, and there's this program called the Total Source. Every time an employee or somebody did something to us that was absolutely, they were at fault, common sense stuff that's at fault, not even anything that's like gray area. We'd call them, hey, here's what we want to do. We want to make this and we want to do this to them. Yeah, don't do that because they may sue you. Every single time, because part of us hiring them was the fact that they're going to offer their lawyers. You know how many times they allowed us to use the lawyers, even though we paid them $39,000 every year? This many times. Zero times, because they don't want you to use their lawyers because they're costing $400, $500, $600 an hour, if that's even the number. So I can see that that's applies in the public sector as well, where you're at. But
in these uncertain times, if there's anything we need people to believe the future looks bright. So if you've heard about me saying this mission to you, we're on a mission to get 1 million people to wear this gear, and this is what we're doing. If you buy one of these hats, there's a category of buying one hat, getting the second one free. If you haven't yet worn this gear publicly, go ahead and test it out. Buy some of the gear, wear it in public, and see how many people will stop by and say, you also watch Valuetainment? You also follow PBD Podcast? I do too. Place your order. Go to vtmerch.com. Click on the link above or below. Place your order and represent the VT and the PBD Podcast gear.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.